She spent 8 months planning the wedding. The dress, the flowers, the seating chart, all of it so her father could walk her down the aisle before the disease took the last of him. He made it. He stood at the altar in his good suit, looking sharp, looking almost like himself. And when she took his hands and smiled, he smiled back warmly, leaned in, and asked her a polite little question. He asked which one of the guests she was. She was the bride. She was his daughter, and he was already gone. Here's the part nobody warns you about. You think the worst thing that can happen to a person is death. It isn't. There's something quieter and far crueler waiting out there. The kind where you don't actually die. You just slowly disappear, piece by piece, from the inside out. First, the names slip away, then the faces, then the small ordinary things, like which end of the spoon goes in the soup. And at the very end, the last thing to go is you, your name, your story, the simple fact that you were ever a person at all. And the cruelest twist? The body stays. It keeps walking, breathing, blinking, sitting across the table from the people it used to love. There's just almost no one left inside it. So let's talk about how a human being erases themselves, one piece at a time. Before we go further, stop and try something. Picture everything being peeled away from you, one layer at a time. Take your memories first. Every birthday, every argument, the face of the first person you ever loved, gone. Now take your habits, the way you hold your coffee, the exact tone of your laugh, the words you overuse without noticing, gone too. Strip out your opinions, your taste in music, your sense of humor, the little private thoughts you've never said out loud. Keep going. Take your name. Now answer honestly. When all of that is gone, is there still a you sitting underneath it? Some core that survives? Or was you only ever the sum of those parts? A pattern held together by a brain that can absolutely be taken apart. That's the uncomfortable thing this whole story is really about. Not a disease you watch from a safe distance, but a slow, methodical demonstration of what a human self is actually built from, and just how little it takes to dismantle it completely. Because here's what should keep you up at night. The self doesn't feel fragile. It feels permanent, solid, obviously yours. Right up until the moment something starts quietly pulling the threads. And the first thread it pulls isn't the one you'd ever expect. Let's clear up what this disease actually is, because almost everyone pictures it wrong. You imagine a sweet old man misplacing his keys, repeating the same story at dinner, calling you by your brother's name. Harmless, a little sad, a little funny, just getting old. Throw that image out. It has nothing to do with what's really happening. Dementia isn't the mind getting slower, it's the brain physically coming apart. The organ itself begins to die. It loses living tissue, it visibly shrinks, growing lighter and emptier over time. Every connection you ever built up there, every memory, every learned skill, every reflex that makes you, gets severed one by one, and none of it grows back. Everything you spent an entire lifetime constructing inside your own head is demolished, room by room, while you're still living in it. And here comes the part that should make you a little uneasy. This isn't a story about some distant stranger in a hospital bed. That brain you're using to follow along right now, the one you completely trust, is the exact same kind of structure. And it is far more delicate than you'd ever like to admit, because the way it comes apart isn't the way you'd expect. It doesn't start by erasing the past. It starts somewhere much stranger. It starts by breaking time itself. You'd assume memory fades in order, that the oldest things go first, and yesterday stays the longest. It doesn't work like that. One of the first things this disease attacks isn't a memory at all. It's time itself. The internal clock everyone carries, the quiet sense of what year it is and how old you are, comes loose and starts sliding backward. A man of 80 can wake up genuinely convinced he's 25, strong, unstoppable, his whole life still ahead of him, not remembering being young, believing he is young right now. And this is where that stranger in the mirror gets truly horrifying. He leans toward the glass and finds a wrinkled, hollow-eyed old man staring back, a face that, in his mind, has no business existing. He doesn't think, "I've aged." He thinks someone stole his real face and left this one behind. His mind is living 40 years in the past. His body is locked in a present he no longer recognizes. And somewhere in the gap between those two, the most important thing of all is quietly beginning to dissolve. But before the self goes, the world around him stops making sense first, starting with the objects in his own hands. Picture a small, ordinary moment. You reach for the coffee mug on your desk, a shape your hand has wrapped around 10,000 times since before you can even remember. You pick it up, and something is wrong. You have no idea what it is. The shape is familiar, smooth, curved, a little handle on the side, warm to the touch. Some quiet instinct insists this thing matters, that you need it for something. But the wire connecting this object to "I drink from this" has simply been cut. What you're holding is a strange ceramic thing with no purpose you can name. And it isn't just the mug, it's the whole room at once. You look around your own kitchen, the one you've cooked in for 20 years, and you're standing in a museum full of unfamiliar exhibits. Everything neatly in place, everything vaguely recognizable, and not one object making any sense. Your brain still registers the colors, the edges, the textures. It just can't assemble them into a simple, "Oh, that's the kettle." There's a name for this. It's called agnosia, and it has nothing to do with your eyes. Your vision is perfect. What's broken sits behind the eyes, the machinery that turns seeing into knowing. And that same machinery is about to fail for something far more unsettling than a coffee mug: voices. Now imagine that exact same short circuit happening to sound. Someone you love walks up and starts speaking. You hear them perfectly. The volume, the warmth, the familiar rise and fall of their voice, all of it intact. But the meaning refuses to land. The words come apart into raw noise, as if the person in front of you suddenly switched to a language you've never studied in your life. Except it's your language. It's your kitchen, and it's your wife, standing in the doorway, asking a question you can no longer decode. Then the same failure reaches the thing that should be safest of all: faces. A person looks at the people closest to them and can't gather the features into anyone they know. The eyes, the mouth, the smile are all right there, but they won't add up. Doctors call it prosopagnosia. And here's the detail that makes the whole thing so quietly brutal. From the outside, you'd expect panic, screaming, crying, begging for help. But often, there's none. The person frequently has no idea what they're losing, so they don't sound the alarm. The world just goes strange around them, softly, without protest. But the disease isn't finished simply taking things away. Next, it starts putting things there that were never real at all. Up to this point, the disease has only been taking things away, meaning recognition, familiar voices. Now it does something worse. It starts adding things that aren't there. The brain loses its grip on depth and shadow, and an ordinary home turns into a minefield. That glossy, polished floor in the hallway, the brain suddenly reads it as water, an actual pool, and the person stops dead at the edge, refusing to wade in. You can tell them it's dry hardwood 100 times. They're not stepping into the lake in their own living room. Then the shadows join in. A dark rug on the floor becomes a bottomless pit, and they'll stand frozen at the edge of it, unable to cross a hole that doesn't exist. And the patterns, the swirls on the wallpaper, the print on the curtains, begin to crawl. They shift, rearrange, and settle into faces. Faces that watch. Sometimes faces that move. And here's what makes it genuinely disturbing. To them, none of this is imagination. They aren't pretending, and they aren't being dramatic. Their brain is faithfully showing them this warped, hostile world as the only reality they have. But the true nightmare begins when this glitch stops targeting floors and walls and turns on the people they love most. There's a turn this disease can take that unsettles even the doctors who study it. It's called Capgras delusion. A man looks at his wife of 40 years and calmly, completely certain, tells her she isn't his wife. Not confused, certain. Yes, she looks exactly like her. Same face, same voice, same little way of tucking her hair behind her ear. But to him, she's a duplicate, an imposter. The real woman has been taken somewhere, and this convincing copy was left in her place. And the cruelest part is that you cannot reason him out of it. Show him old photographs, wedding rings, call in the children to confirm, and it only tightens the knot. Every piece of proof just makes the replacement seem more elaborate, the plot more sinister. The more you argue, the deeper he sinks. Sit with that for a second. The person who has shared your entire life looks straight through you and sees a stranger wearing your skin. Not a lapse of memory, a certainty that you are fake. But losing the world and losing the people in it is still not the bottom of this. Because the next thing to come apart isn't what they see or who they recognize. It's the self doing the recognizing. The self doesn't switch off like a light. It erodes one grain at a time, and you can actually watch it happen in people who left a record behind. Take the British novelist Iris Murdoch. For her whole life, she wove dense, brilliant, intricate sentences, bending language however she pleased. Then the illness arrived. Years later, researchers took her final novel and studied it line by line, and the decline is right there on the page. The vocabulary thinning out, the long sentences collapsing into short ones, the ideas growing simpler and flatter, as if someone was slowly turning her volume down. She was still writing, but less and less of her remained in the words. And that's how everyone goes. First, the complicated words, then the sense of humor, then the favorite phrases, the small habits, the particular tastes, every fine detail the personality was assembled from, wiped away one stroke at a time. Then comes the strangest part of all. The self vanishes, but the body keeps going, running on something buried far deeper. It's called procedural memory. A man who can't recognize his own children will still sit at a piano and let his hands play a piece he learned 50 years ago, flawlessly, without a trace of who he was. Which leaves one deeply uncomfortable question. How much of you is a real conscious choice, and how much is just the same kind of program running on autopilot? But the disease saves its most impossible trick for the very end. You'd think that's the end of it. The self is gone, reality has fallen apart, and there's no possible way back. But this is exactly where the disease pulls off the one thing no one has ever been able to explain. Someone who hasn't recognized a single face in years, who forgot their own name, who lived in a permanent fog, suddenly wakes up. Hours, sometimes days, before death. And they come back. The eyes that stared at nothing for so long turn clear and present again. They sit up, they call each person by name, they tell old stories, they laugh, they say the goodbyes no one thought they'd ever get. As if the illness had simply lifted. As if the person everyone quietly buried years ago had been somewhere inside the whole time, just waiting for the door to open. Doctors call it terminal lucidity, and to this day they can't fully account for it. It's like a phone stuck at 1% for hours that suddenly blazes to full brightness 1 second before it dies, and then goes dark for good. And it leaves us with the most impossible question of all. If they could return right at the very end, does that mean they were never truly gone? That the whole time, the real person was still in there, locked inside a body that wouldn't obey? I don't have the answer to that one. Maybe you do if this stirred something in you, or if you've watched it happen to someone. Tell me in the comments, because I read them, and stories like that stay with me. And if these are the questions you want to keep sitting with, subscribe and stay a while. We'll keep pulling these threads together. That's all for now. I'll do my best not to forget you.